"Take me, I'll be a better wife. I have experience," said the Apache widow. The Apache widow's life had never been easy, but the loss of her husband had changed everything. Before the tragedy, she had known laughter and love, even in the simple life of her small village. Her husband had been her companion, her friend, and her protector. Together, they had faced hardships, hunted for food, and celebrated the small joys of life. They had dreams of growing old together, raising their children in a peaceful home, and passing down the stories of their ancestors. But fate had other plans, and in one cruel moment, everything she had held dear slipped away. The day of his death began like any other. The sun had risen slowly over the horizon, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. Birds chirped softly in the distance, and the wind carried the fresh scent of pine and earth. She had been preparing breakfast when a messenger arrived, riding furiously through the village. The sight of him, covered in dust and urgency, sent a chill through her. The words he spoke were few, but they carried a weight that no heart could easily bear. Her husband had been gone, lost in a sudden accident far from home, and there was nothing she could do to change it. For days, she wandered through the village in a haze. Her eyes, once bright with laughter, now carried a quiet sadness. She moved slowly, completing chores mechanically, her hands performing tasks that her heart no longer felt. The children sensed the change, their small voices filled with worry and confusion. She tried to comfort them, though inside, she felt the same emptiness. Nights were the hardest. She would sit by the fire, staring into the flames, remembering the sound of her husband's voice, the warmth of his touch, and the comfort of his presence. The stars outside seemed distant and cold, mirroring the loneliness she felt in her own heart. Yet even in the darkness, there was a spark of resilience within her. The Apache had always taught strength, courage, and endurance, especially to women. Her mother had told her stories of women who had faced unimaginable losses and still found a way to protect their families and preserve their traditions. She remembered these stories now, letting them guide her. She could not allow herself to sink completely into despair. Her children needed her, the village depended on each other, and life, though painful, had to continue. Slowly, she began to rebuild her days. She woke before dawn, tending to the small garden behind her home. She gathered herbs, vegetables, and whatever wild fruits she could find. She hunted carefully, moving silently through the woods, remembering the lessons her husband had taught her. The village began to notice her efforts. Neighbors would occasionally stop by, bringing small gifts of food or simply sitting in quiet company. Some whispered words of encouragement, others offered assistance. She accepted help politely but always maintained her dignity, determined not to be seen as weak or helpless. Her grief was not just personal, it was practical. Without her husband, responsibilities doubled. She had to manage the household, secure food, and protect her children from both danger and despair. She learned quickly to be resourceful, using every skill she had to survive. When a sudden storm damaged the roof of her home, she worked tirelessly to fix it, even though her body ached and her heart felt heavy. When a child fell ill, she used herbal remedies and careful attention to nurse them back to health. The villagers began to respect her not only for her endurance, but for her unwavering commitment to her family. Despite her hard work, loneliness remained a constant companion. The evenings were long and silent, filled with memories that both comforted and pained her. She would sit by the fire, spinning yarn or crafting small items, letting her mind wander through the past. She thought of her husband's laughter, the way he had held her hand during difficult times, and the dreams they had shared. She remembered the small adventures they had taken together, wandering through forests, crossing streams, and watching sunsets from hilltops. These memories were bittersweet. They brought tears but also reminded her of the love that had once filled her life. Sometimes she would walk to the edge of the village, looking out over the vast landscape that stretched for miles. The mountains stood tall and silent, The rivers flowed endlessly, and the forests whispered with the wind. In these moments, she felt both small and infinite, realizing that life went on despite personal loss. She began to speak softly to herself, making promises to survive, to protect her children, and to honor her husband's memory. These whispered words became her strength. The village itself had its own rhythm, and she became an integral part of it again, though in a new role. People respected her for her experience, her knowledge of survival, and her wisdom. Young women came to her for advice, asking how to handle the daily challenges of life, and she shared her insights with patience. She spoke of resilience, of finding courage when hope seemed distant, and of the quiet power of persistence. Through these exchanges, she found a sense of purpose that went beyond her grief. Even as she adapted, there were moments of doubt and fear. She wondered if she would ever feel happiness again, if she could ever love without fear, or if the memories of her past would always haunt her. Nights were hardest, when silence enveloped the home, and the only sounds were the children's breathing and the crackle of the fire. But she did not allow herself to succumb completely. She learned to embrace small joys, the laughter of her children, the warmth of sunlight on her face, the quiet beauty of a forest glade, or the taste of a fresh meal she had prepared. Time, though slow, began to heal. She discovered that grief did not disappear, but it changed shape. It became a companion, a teacher, and a reminder of love lost and life preserved. Each day, she grew stronger, not only in body but in spirit. She learned to face challenges with calm determination and to cherish moments of beauty wherever they appeared. Her children grew under her care, strong and resilient themselves, reflecting the lessons she had absorbed from both her husband and her ancestors. Through it all, the Apache widow never lost her sense of self. She carried her grief, yes, but she also carried courage, experience, and a quiet dignity that earned the admiration of those around her. Life had taken much from her, but it had not taken everything. Her heart, though scarred, remained capable of hope. She began to realize that the story of her life was not just about loss, but about survival, strength, and the possibility of new beginnings. And so, in that small village, the Apache widow became more than just a woman who had suffered. She became a symbol of resilience, a testament to the strength of the human spirit, and a living example of how experience, painful though it may be, could prepare someone for the challenges yet to come. Her story was only beginning, and though the road ahead was uncertain, she had already proven that she could walk it with courage and grace. After accepting the new life that had been offered to her, the Apache widow stepped into a world that was both familiar and strange. Her new home was not the one she had built with her late husband, and its people were not those she had known her whole life. She entered carefully, carrying not only her belongings but also the weight of her past experiences. She had learned through hardship that life demanded patience, courage, and understanding, and now she would need all of these qualities to navigate this new chapter. The first days were quiet, filled with observation and careful adjustment. She watched the rhythms of the household, noting how the chores were divided, how meals were prepared, and how the family interacted. Everything was different from what she had known, yet she approached it with a calm determination. She did not wish to impose herself, nor did she want to be seen as weak or unworthy. Her goal was simple: to find her place without losing herself in the process. The man she had agreed to marry was not unkind. He had his own ways, shaped by his upbringing and experiences, and he looked to her with a mix of curiosity and hope. They had yet to truly understand each other, and the widow knew that trust and connection were built slowly. She greeted him with respect and warmth, offering assistance where it was needed and silently learning the rules of her new home. At first, there were moments of tension. Small misunderstandings arose, as they sometimes did when two lives collided after being separate for so long. But neither allowed these moments to dominate. Instead, They used them as opportunities to learn and grow. The widow's greatest challenge was balancing her independence with her role as a wife. She had grown accustomed to managing her own home, making decisions, and taking responsibility for herself and her children. Now she was asked to adjust to a household that had its own routines and expectations. It was not always easy. She sometimes struggled with small tasks that were new to her, yet she faced them with humility and diligence. She asked questions when she needed guidance and offered suggestions when she saw ways to improve daily life. Her honesty and willingness to learn gradually earned the respect of everyone around her. At the same time, she never lost sight of her children. They were her first priority, and she carefully guided them through this transition as well. Moving to a new household was confusing and even frightening for them. They missed the familiar sights, smells, and routines of their old home. She listened to their worries, reassured them with gentle words, and included them in the new family life. She taught them how to adapt without forgetting who they were, blending lessons from the past with the opportunities of the present. Slowly, the children began to accept their new surroundings, finding joy in small discoveries like a hidden stream near the house or a garden where they could play. Life in the household required cooperation. She worked alongside the other members of the family, sharing in the chores and responsibilities. Some days were easier than others. There were mornings when the fire would not light, and she had to figure out alternative ways to cook. There were nights when the wind howled through the valley, and she had to secure the roof and doors. Each problem became a test of her patience, skill, and resourcefulness. She faced each challenge with a calm mind and steady hands, proving not only to herself, but to everyone around her that she was capable and reliable. Her presence gradually began to change the household in subtle but meaningful ways. Her experience and wisdom brought new ideas to daily life, from better methods of preserving food to careful ways of tending animals and crops. She shared knowledge she had gained over the years, yet she did so gently, never imposing her views. Others in the household started to notice improvements, small changes that made life smoother and more efficient. Her influence was quiet but undeniable, a steady force that shaped the home without making anyone feel dominated or ignored. Relationships within the household deepened over time. She began to understand the personalities, strengths, and weaknesses of those around her. There were moments of laughter, shared stories, and simple joys that reminded her of the warmth of human connection. She learned to celebrate small victories, a successful harvest, a well-prepared meal, or a peaceful evening together. She also learned to handle conflicts calmly, using her experience to mediate disagreements and find solutions that worked for everyone. Her presence became a source of stability, and her kindness fostered an atmosphere of mutual respect and care. Yet, it was not all smooth sailing. Some days brought doubt and frustration. She sometimes wondered if she would ever fully belong, or if she had the right to step into this new role. The memories of her late husband and the life they had shared occasionally pressed upon her, creating a silent ache in her heart. But she did not allow these feelings to overwhelm her. Instead, she acknowledged them, understanding that grief was a part of her story but not the entirety of it. She reminded herself that life was moving forward and that she had the power to shape her future. Her wisdom and experience became particularly valuable during moments of crisis. When illness struck one of the children or when unexpected storms threatened the household, she acted decisively and calmly. She applied knowledge gained from years of hardship, from tending to wounds to preparing safe shelter. Her ability to remain composed in difficult times inspired confidence in others, and gradually, the household began to rely on her guidance. She became more than just a member of the family. She became a pillar of strength, someone who could be trusted to lead when challenges arose. Through these experiences, she also learned to open her heart again. She discovered that trust and affection could grow slowly, nurtured by small acts of kindness and shared experiences. She laughed again, sometimes at the children's playful antics, sometimes at her own mistakes, and sometimes simply at the beauty of a sunset or the song of birds in the morning. Love returned to her life in subtle, unassuming ways, not as a replacement for what she had lost, but as a continuation of her capacity to feel deeply and care for others. The community began to notice the transformation as well. The widow, once known for her grief and quiet perseverance, was now recognized for her ability to bring people together. Villagers sought her advice and valued her insight. She had become a bridge between the old and the new, blending traditions with practical solutions for daily life. Her life became an example of adaptability and courage, showing that even after loss, one could thrive, grow, and contribute meaningfully to those around them. Despite the challenges, she remained humble. She did not seek praise or recognition, but her actions spoke louder than words. She found fulfillment in the simple joys of life, watching the children play safely, sharing a meal with the family, or hearing the laughter that echoed through the home. Each day was a reminder that life was precious, and she had learned to appreciate it fully. She realized that happiness was not a constant state, but a collection of small, meaningful moments that could be cherished and remembered. The Apache widow also became a mentor and role model for the younger women in the household and village. She shared lessons from her own life, teaching resilience, patience, and the importance of self-respect. She encouraged them to value their experiences, to trust their instincts, and to approach life's challenges with confidence. Through her guidance, others learned not only how to survive but how to thrive, creating a ripple effect of wisdom and strength throughout the community. By the end of this period, the widow had transformed the household. What had begun as a tentative, cautious integration into a new life had grown into a deep, meaningful connection. She had earned trust, fostered respect, and built relationships that were strong and supportive. Her experience had become her greatest asset, guiding her through challenges and helping her create a home filled with warmth, stability, and love. Through it all, she remained true to herself. She had faced grief, change, and uncertainty, yet she had not lost her identity or her spirit. Her journey was a testament to the strength of the human heart, the power of patience, and the ability to embrace new beginnings. She had learned that life's difficulties were not obstacles to happiness, but opportunities to grow stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. And so, in her new home, surrounded by family and guided by experience, the Apache widow found a sense of belonging and purpose. She had faced the unknown with courage, transformed challenges into lessons, and shown that resilience and love could create a life rich with meaning. Her journey was far from over, but she had proven that with patience, understanding, and heart, one could navigate even the most complex paths and find a life worth living. As time passed, the Apache widow's life began to settle into a rhythm that was both familiar and new. She had adapted to her new household, earned the respect of her husband and family, and found small joys in the everyday moments of life. Yet, she soon realized that her journey was not just about adjusting to a new home. It was about using her experiences to make a difference, not only in her immediate family but in the wider community. She had learned much from hardship, loss, and survival, and she now had the opportunity to turn that knowledge into guidance, support, and inspiration for others. The first signs of her growing influence appeared in the quiet ways she helped others. Young women in the village, facing the challenges of household duties and family responsibilities, began to seek her advice. They admired her resilience and the way she handled both grief and new beginnings with dignity. She listened patiently to their worries and offered practical solutions, teaching them the skills she had learned over the years. She showed them how to prepare meals efficiently, store food for long periods, tend to children, and manage unexpected challenges. Her advice was never given as criticism, but as gentle guidance, allowing others to learn without fear or shame. One of the widow's greatest strengths was her ability to remain calm under pressure. When conflicts arose between family members, neighbors, or even friends, she would step in quietly, listening to each side before offering her perspective. Her words were measured and thoughtful, never harsh or dismissive. People began to trust her judgment, knowing that she approached every situation with fairness and wisdom. Slowly, she became known as a mediator, someone who could resolve disputes and bring harmony to those around her. Her reputation grew, and with it came a sense of responsibility that she accepted willingly. Her role as a mentor extended beyond domestic matters. She began teaching the children of the village, sharing stories of their ancestors, lessons of survival, and values of courage and honesty. She told them how her own life had been shaped by both joy and sorrow, emphasizing the importance of learning from every experience. The children listened eagerly, inspired by her strength and the way she faced life without bitterness. They learned that hardships were not the end of the story but opportunities to grow stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. The widow also became a source of support for women who had suffered losses like her own. Some had lost husbands, others had faced illness, poverty, or other challenges. She welcomed them into her home, offering them food, shelter, or simply a listening ear. She understood their pain because she had lived it herself, and she treated their struggles with empathy and respect. Her home became a sanctuary, a place where people could share their burdens and leave feeling lighter, supported, and encouraged. In this way, her influence extended far beyond her own family, touching the lives of many in the village. Even within her own household, the widow's wisdom continued to shine. She encouraged her husband to share responsibilities equally, fostering a partnership built on mutual respect. She involved the children in meaningful tasks, teaching them skills that would help them in the future. She introduced small innovations in the household, like better ways to store food, keep the home organized, and care for the animals. These changes, though subtle, improved daily life for everyone. Her family began to thrive in ways they had not before, and the household became a model of cooperation, resilience, and love. Her influence also reached the village in practical ways. During harvest season, she organized groups of women to work together, sharing knowledge about planting, tending, and storing crops. She encouraged sustainable practices, ensuring that the land would remain fertile for future generations. She taught people how to conserve water, protect livestock, and make the most of limited resources. Villagers admired her not just for her skills, but for the way she empowered others, giving them confidence in their own abilities. She had transformed her personal experience into collective wisdom, helping the community thrive. The Apache widow's strength was also evident during times of crisis. When a sudden storm threatened the village, she took charge calmly, directing people to secure their homes and livestock. She organized groups to repair damage after the storm, working tirelessly alongside others. Her experience in handling hardships proved invaluable, and the villagers recognized that her leadership was rooted not in authority, but in knowledge, compassion, and reliability. She became someone people could rely on when the unexpected occurred, a living example of resilience in action. Through these years, she also found time to nurture her own spirit. She spent quiet moments in reflection, remembering the lessons of the past while planning for the future. She appreciated the beauty of nature, the laughter of children, and the simple pleasures of life. Her grief for her late husband remained, but it no longer consumed her. Instead, it became a quiet presence, a reminder of the love she had experienced and the strength she had gained. She had learned to carry her memories without letting them weigh her down, transforming sorrow into wisdom. Her role as a mentor and guide strengthened her sense of purpose. She realized that her life had meaning beyond her own survival. Every skill she shared, every piece of advice she offered, and every act of kindness contributed to the well-being of others. She understood that experience was valuable not only for herself, but for the people around her. By sharing what she had learned, she created a ripple effect of knowledge and resilience, ensuring that her legacy would continue through the lives she touched. The Apache widow also helped to preserve cultural traditions. She taught songs, stories, and rituals to the younger generations, emphasizing the importance of remembering their roots. She showed them how to honor ancestors, celebrate seasonal events, and maintain a connection to the land. Her guidance helped to strengthen the community's identity, fostering a sense of pride and belonging among its members. In doing so, she reinforced the idea that survival was not just physical but also spiritual, rooted in connection to heritage and shared values. As the years passed, the widow's influence became undeniable. People no longer saw her solely as someone who had suffered loss. They saw her as a leader, a teacher, and a source of strength. She had transformed her own experiences into a force that uplifted others, demonstrating that hardship could be turned into wisdom and action. Her life became a living example of perseverance, compassion, and resilience, showing that a person could grow stronger through adversity and create meaning in even the most challenging circumstances. Yet, despite her growing prominence, she remained humble and grounded. She never sought recognition or praise for her efforts. She focused on the needs of others, offering help quietly and sincerely. Her satisfaction came from seeing others thrive, from knowing that her guidance had made a difference, and from witnessing the positive changes that unfolded in her family and community. She understood that true strength was not in commanding attention, but in quietly supporting and empowering those around her. Through her efforts, the village itself began to transform. People were more cooperative, resourceful, and confident in their abilities. Conflicts were resolved with greater ease, and knowledge was shared more freely. The Apache widow had become a central figure in this transformation, a beacon of wisdom and resilience. She had taken her personal experiences and turned them into a gift for others, showing that even the most painful lessons could have a purpose beyond oneself. In her own family, the changes were equally profound. Her children grew up strong, capable, and compassionate, shaped by both her guidance and example. They learned the value of hard work, honesty, and caring for others. They also learned to embrace change and face challenges with courage, carrying forward the lessons their mother had instilled. Her husband, too, grew alongside her, learning to appreciate her wisdom, support, and quiet strength. Together, they built a home that was not just a place to live, but a space of learning, love, and resilience. Through all of this, the Apache widow continued to evolve. She had moved from grief to acceptance, from loss to purpose, and from isolation to connection. Her life had become a testament to the power of experience, the importance of resilience, and the impact one person could have on many. She had taken the lessons of her own struggles and turned them into a source of hope, guidance, and inspiration for others. By the end of this period, the Apache widow had truly become a figure of strength and wisdom. She had shown that life's hardships could be transformed into tools for growth, that experience was a gift to be shared, and that compassion and courage could change not only a family but an entire community. Her journey was far from over, but she had already proven that a person who embraces life with heart, patience, and wisdom can create a legacy that endures, touches lives, and inspires others to rise above their own challenges. Years had passed since the Apache widow had first stepped into her new life. The days of uncertainty, fear, and sorrow were behind her, though their lessons remained alive in her heart. She had faced grief, loss, and the challenges of starting anew, and each step had shaped her into a woman of strength, wisdom, and compassion. Now her life was full, not in the sense of ease, but in the sense of purpose, connection, and fulfillment. She had learned to embrace the present while honoring the past, and her journey had brought her to a place where she could reflect on everything she had overcome. Her home was now a place of harmony, warmth, and laughter. The children, once hesitant and uncertain, had grown into confident, caring young individuals, shaped by her guidance and example. They moved through their days with curiosity and energy, learning the skills and values that she had worked so hard to instill. She watched them play in the garden, help with chores, and share in the life of the household, and she felt a quiet pride. Each small accomplishment was a testament not only to their growth, but to the lessons she had imparted: resilience, patience, and the courage to face life's challenges. The widow's relationship with her husband had also deepened over the years. They had learned to understand each other in ways that only time, experience, and shared effort could teach. Their partnership was built on mutual respect, trust, and affection, strengthened by the challenges they had faced together. He had come to rely on her wisdom and judgment, and she had come to value his support and care. Together, they managed the household, nurtured their family, and contributed to the well-being of the village. Their relationship was no longer defined by novelty or uncertainty. It was steady, enduring, and deeply rooted in understanding and shared purpose. Beyond her family, the Apache widow's influence had grown throughout the village. She had become a figure of guidance and mentorship, someone whose advice was sought and respected. Young women came to her not only for practical guidance, but also for emotional support. They shared their fears, dreams, and struggles, and she responded with empathy, patience, and encouragement. She taught them that challenges were opportunities to grow, that mistakes were lessons rather than failures, and that experience, both good and bad, could be transformed into strength. Through her efforts, the village had become more resilient, cooperative, and confident, and she had played a central role in fostering that transformation. Her reputation as a source of wisdom was matched by her actions during times of crisis. When illness struck, she guided families with careful attention and knowledge gained from years of experience. When storms damaged homes or crops, she organized efforts to repair and rebuild. Her calm demeanor, practical skills, and steady leadership made her a trusted figure during the most difficult moments. Villagers knew that when she was involved, there was hope, and they often found comfort in her presence. In every challenge, she demonstrated that strength was not simply the absence of fear, but the ability to act with courage, patience, and compassion in spite of it. Despite her responsibilities and the respect she had earned, she remained humble. She did not seek recognition or praise. Her satisfaction came from seeing others thrive, from the laughter of children, and from the knowledge that her guidance had made a difference. She understood that true influence was measured not by titles or attention, but by the positive impact one had on the lives of others. Her actions spoke louder than words, and her humility only made her wisdom more admirable. People respected her not because she demanded it, but because she earned it through her consistent kindness, patience, and skill. The Apache widow also took time to nurture her own spirit. She spent quiet moments reflecting on her journey, honoring the memory of her late husband while appreciating the life she had built. She walked through the forests, feeling the wind on her face, listening to the birds, and observing the changes of the seasons. These moments of solitude were a reminder that life was both fleeting and precious, and they strengthened her resolve to continue living fully, embracing both challenges and joys. She understood that happiness was not constant, but could be found in small, meaningful moments: a child's laughter, a shared meal, a story told by the fire, or a gentle sunset over the hills. In addition to guiding her household and mentoring others, she became a keeper of tradition. She preserved the stories, songs, and rituals of her ancestors, sharing them with the children of the village. She taught them the importance of honoring their roots, respecting the land, and maintaining a sense of identity and belonging. Through her efforts, she ensured that the younger generations would carry forward the values and wisdom of their people. She had come to understand that survival was not just about physical endurance, but also about maintaining cultural heritage and spiritual connection. Her guidance helped the community remain grounded in its history while adapting to the changes brought by life. Her experience and resilience had also taught her the importance of balance. She encouraged others to work hard, prepare for challenges, and face difficulties with courage. But she also emphasized the value of rest, joy, and reflection. She celebrated small successes, enjoyed moments of companionship, and allowed herself to experience pleasure in the simple aspects of life. She had learned that a meaningful life required both effort and appreciation, both struggle and contentment. By modeling this balance, she inspired those around her to live in a similar way, embracing life fully without being consumed by its challenges. The widow's journey also reminded her community that life could be rebuilt after loss. She had experienced grief, hardship, and uncertainty, yet she had transformed those experiences into a life of purpose and connection. Her story became an example for others who had faced similar trials, showing that resilience, patience, and courage could lead to renewed happiness and fulfillment. People looked to her not only as a mentor or guide, but also as a living symbol of hope. Her life demonstrated that even after the darkest moments, it was possible to create a future filled with love, purpose, and meaning. As she grew older, the Apache widow reflected on the choices she had made and the path she had taken. She realized that every decision, every moment of courage, and every act of care had contributed to the life she now cherished. She had embraced new beginnings without forgetting the past, faced challenges with determination, and shared her wisdom freely with those around her. Her life was a tapestry of experience, resilience, and compassion, woven together through years of effort, reflection, and care. Ultimately, the widow had reclaimed her life in the fullest sense. She had transformed personal loss into communal strength, grief into wisdom, and hardship into opportunity. Her family thrived, her community respected and relied upon her, and she had become a source of inspiration to all who knew her. She had not only survived, but had created a meaningful life filled with connection, purpose, and love. Her journey was a testament to the human spirit's ability to endure, adapt, and flourish, even in the face of adversity. In the quiet moments of her life, she often thought back to the day she had said, "Take me, I'll be a better wife, I have experience." At the time, it had been a declaration of courage and hope. Now, looking at the life she had built, she understood that those words had been true in ways she could not have imagined. Her experiences had indeed made her stronger, wiser, and capable of creating a home and a life that reflected her values, skills, and heart. She had fulfilled her own promise, not only to herself but to her family, her community, and the legacy of her people. As the sun set over the mountains, casting golden light across the village, the Apache widow stood quietly outside her home, watching the children play, the animals graze, and the community move through its evening routines. She felt a profound sense of peace and fulfillment. Her journey had been long and filled with challenges, but she had emerged stronger, wiser, and deeply connected to those around her. She had reclaimed her life, not as a continuation of what she had lost, but as a creation of her own strength, courage, and wisdom. She had proven that even after heartbreak, life could be rebuilt, and that experience, resilience, and love could create a future rich with meaning and joy. Her story became one that people remembered, retold around fires, shared in quiet conversation, and passed down through generations. It was a story of loss, yes, but also of hope, strength, and the transformative power of experience. She had shown that a life touched by hardship could also be a life of profound impact, not only on oneself but on the world around them. And in the hearts of those who knew her, she remained a symbol of courage, wisdom, and the enduring power of the human spirit.